Meeting of the Siloam Springs Board of Adjustment to order. If you roll call.
Song.
Here.
Montgomery.
Here.
Sally.
Here.
Kenny.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Bernard. Williams.
Here.
If you would, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our nation's colors. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, you've all received minutes from the regular meeting of the Board of Adjustment on July the 12th, 2022. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes.
I have a motion to approve the minutes of July the 12th, 2022. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. The item on today's agenda is a variance request. Mr. Ben Rhoads, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Board. Ben Rhoads, Senior Planner. So what you're considering this evening is a setback variance for a proposed retail structure at 3299 Highway 412 East. Since this request is part of a larger significant development permit, I'll go ahead and present as well on that one so you can see the full picture of what's being proposed related to the variance request. So for the development proposal, it is for a 50,088 square foot commercial retail structure located between Walmart and Lowe's. Let me get stylus there. So here you see the site plan. So this encroachment, the reason for the setback is that there is an encroachment of about 3.72 feet into the 10-foot side setback. So this is on its side, as you can see. So north is to the right. So Lowe's is to the bottom, and then Walmart would be to the top of this picture. So we're just switched it to the side. So that's the east side setback area, and as you can see, they're proposed about 6.28 feet from the actual property line, as highlighted on the map there. So this slide gives you an overview of the site compared to other sites in the immediate area, and this was included in with the staff report. So it's important as one prime thing that the board adjustment needs to rule on is if the proposed variance is unique to the property, not frequently occurring in the zone district. So in other words, you want to make sure that what's being asked is related to something unusual about the property that gives the applicant a hardship compared to its peers or similar properties. In this case, what has been identified is the lack of the width of the property compared to others for similar type uses. So we put together the width of the Lowe's, Walmart, Signature Plaza, and Shops of Siloam shopping centers for those lots. And of these properties, the subject property is the narrowest. So you see that here, the subject property, 372.5, and then the other ones shown in the around the area. Furthermore, it should be pointed out that the applicant in good faith has made design changes to their national prototypes to reduce the overall width of the building so that the requested variance is the smallest to extent possible. So shifting gears now to the overall project, here's the front of the project, north being again to the right. The proposal, this is the proposed parking area that is situated between two of the existing drives that connects to Walmart and Lowe's. The applicant has added islands to the center of the parking area, which will be landscaped with trees, and those are shown right there. And here you see the overall site plan showing both the parking area and the buildings, Lowe's to the bottom, and again, Walmart to the top of the image. The site areas access easements are established to allow access to the rear of the stores. This is the cul-de-sac shown as for a turnaround area for delivery trucks. The actual paved area will be the larger area around that for employee parking and the dumpster and things of that nature. So speaking of easements, the applicant has also requested that 15 feet of the 20-foot two side utility easements are vacated in order to permit the construction over that easement, which is either building all the way up to their 10-foot setback on the west side, and then as you know, for the variance, about 6.72 feet on the east. So that will be reviewed by the City Board of Directors at their April 18th regular meeting. Just as a reminder, the Planning Commission doesn't review easements vacations, but just letting you know that that's happening as well on this property. Here are some renderings of the proposed structures with their tenants. And then lastly, here is the site looking to the north. If you recall, the reserves apartments are planned to be built to the north of the site, but they have not started construction yet. So staff is recommending approval with a few conditions, and I'll read those off for you. So that the applicant acquires the needed setback variance prior to building permit issuance. That the applicant close the utility easements, as I mentioned earlier. This is needed prior to the building certificate of occupancy. The applicant file a drainage and utility easement via separate instrument prior to the certificate of occupancy. And lastly, that the City Sanitation Division approve the final location and sizing of the dumpster corrals. That's also needed prior to building permit issuance. With that, we are available for any of your questions. First, initially only on the variance, and then after the Planning Commission is called to order, then we'll be happy to answer questions specifically on the significant development permit. And with that, we are available. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. All right, first off, this is only on the variance. Is there anyone from the audience who would like to come up and address this issue concerning the variance only? Commissioners, do you have any questions on the variance, approval of the variance on this property?
Mr. Chairman. Ben, will that property then just be a sidewalk, a 6-foot, 2.8-inch sidewalk on the side of the building?
The sidewalk will go up to the front doors. This is going to be going further back on the side of the building.
Right, but on the side of the building, that piece of property, will it just be road? Will it be a sidewalk? What?
It will be green space, you know, so it'll be the
Okay.
building wall, there'll be green space, and then there'll be the property line, and
Okay.
then there'll be green space on the other side of that, the Lowe's side.
Any other questions from the commissioners on the variance? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the recommended approval of BOA 23-02 variance.
I have a motion to approve BOA 2302 based on hardship. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Montgomery,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Song.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the Board of Adjustment.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The Board of Adjustment is adjourned. I now call to order the City of Siloam Springs Planning Commission this 11th day of April 2023. The significant development along is the first item on the agenda. Is there anyone from the audience who would like to address this significant development?
Mr. Chairman, over here. So, yeah, for the planning commission, you also need to do a roll call and
Oh.
minutes approval.
My apologies. I was trying to put the horse before the cart. I apologize. Roll call, please.
Song,
Here.
Montgomery,
Here.
Sally,
Here.
McKinney,
Here.
Smith,
Here.
Bernard, Williams.
Here.
You've all received minutes from the March 14th, 2023 regular meeting. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion to approve the minutes from the March 14th, 2023 meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Now that the horses are hooked up, is there anyone from the audience who would like to address a significant development, SD 2305? Please come forward, state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
All right. My name is Carl Cooney, and I'm here representing Half Associates for the Siloam Springs Administration Building project. We are here to.
Excuse me, which, are you addressing this one that's up on the board now?
I apologize. This is the wrong one.
Okay, we'll get you when we get down to that one.
Okay.
Anyone else from the audience who would like to address the significant development, SD 2303, which is 3299 Highway 412 East? Please state your name and address, please.
I'm Mike Hillsman, 3151 Hickory Bluff Road, Sapulpa, Oklahoma. I'm the landlord for the shopping center that used to have Atwoods in it, and I don't know if this is the appropriate place to be asking. I mean, I don't know if this is with regard to the variances or the project in general, so I don't know if I'm, in order here, asking about the, whether this project should be approved or not.
Well, this is a place to do that right now, and that's concerning this project.
Okay. So I bought that center 20 years ago and have been, brought in the tenants, used my own money, developed it. Well, I used the bank's money too, but we just had Atwoods vacate. They were doing too well there, which is good for them. The project in question here is 50,000 square feet. My vacancy is 48,000, and I can expand that another 8,000 easily. I'm not asking for $1.5 million to do my project. What I would like to see is the government not entice people to basically wait to for these sorts of, I wouldn't call it a handout, but you know what I mean, these incentives, because essentially what it does is it takes away from the other vacancies, the other buildings available right now. I have 2 years ago, I had a national retailer that you all know that is in the craft industry, who wanted to go into my building. They would take the entire space. Matter of fact, I was considering adding on to the space. That was 2 years ago. They stopped work with me on that because they went and actually signed a lease with Burk Collins on a space that's not been built yet. I hope that if that, I don't know if that's a phase 2 of the ask of tax relief, but you don't need to give that tax relief because you already got them. I'm sure these tenants all have signed leases as well. I have space in my center, and you know, with $1.5 million, I could make it look like a brand new center. I'm using my own money, and I think that's the way it ought to be. And I'm taking my own risk, and I would just ask that you know, these incentives distort the market. They distort the real estate. They make tenants sit on their hands. I mean, with that tenant that I could have had, how many more years are they not going to be paying taxes before they're even open? And we've already lost 2 years of them paying taxes. And then how many years until the break even after that incentive has run its course? So I think the thought is good, the intention is good to bring in new businesses, but I don't think it's necessary, and it's destructive to the other landowners or landlords who have already been here and contributing for over 20 years. Thank you.
I appreciate your comments, sir. Is there anyone else from the audience that would like to address this project? Okay, commissioners, you have any questions on of Ben?
I guess that kind of got my wheels turning. Do we have an analysis of a break even? I mean, is there some sort of financial metrics that we can look at to the recoup of?
All I can speak to is that the Board of Directors passed Resolution 5222 for economic development for this property.
That's a Board of Directors, not a Planning Commission issue. Is there any questions on this development, the development itself? Everyone seems to be okay with it. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve SD 23-05, subject to staff conditions.
I have a motion to approve SD 2305, subject to the 4 staff conditions. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve SD 2305. Roll call, please.
Montgomery,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Song.
Yes.
Motion is approved. This will go to the Board of Directors on April the 18th. Next item on our agenda is Significant Development Permit SD 2304, revised. Megan, I think you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Megan Thomas, Planner 1. The applicant is requesting to revise the drainage plans for a previously approved significant development. The project is located at 3050 Sherry Whitlock Drive. The significant development was previously approved by the Board of Directors on July 5th, 2022. As a reminder, the applicant is requesting to construct a 20,399 square foot commercial building. However, the only changes to be made since the previous approval are related to the drainage plan for the development. On the screen is the previously approved site plan for the development, so you guys can have an idea of what the change is. And this is the updated version of it. As you can see, it's very similar. The only changes on the drainage plan. And these are the elevations for the commercial building. And this is the overall site view of the property. You can see some of the site work that's already taken place since the previous significant development approval. Staff is recommending approval of this request with one needed condition. The only condition is related to utility and drainage easements. These will be filed via separate instrument as instructed by the city engineer. Staff is available for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Megan. Is there anyone from the audience now that would like to address significant development 2304, the Siloam Springs School District? Okay, commissioners, do you have any comments or questions of staff on SD 2304?
Okay. This is probably for Kevin.
Okay, I will,
I'm going to ask Kevin a question.
oh, okay.
What exactly changes here? What does it affect as far as the drain goes? Is it going to hold more water, less water? Does it leave sooner? I mean, I can see on the picture the difference, but what is the effect?
Yes, so the detention pond is being reduced by about half its size, but it was over-designed the first time it came through for possible future expansions for the school district, and so now they have reduced it to just what this significant development needs.
Okay, so it's not going to cause problems on property around it.
Correct, yes, it still meets all our requirements. It's just now not oversized.
Okay.
Any other questions by commissioners? Sorry. Hearing no other questions, I'll entertain a motion now.
Move approval, SD 23-04.
I have a motion to approve SD 2304. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion to approve and a second. Roll call, please.
McKinney,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Song,
Yes.
Montgomery,
Yes.
Sally.
Yes.
Motion is approved. This will go to the board on May the 2nd. Next item on the agenda is significant development permit SD 2303. I will entertain a motion based on staff's request to table this significant development until May the 9th, 2023 Planning Commission.
So moved.
I have a motion to table SD 2303 until May 9th Planning Commission. Roll call.
SD 2306, perhaps.
Mine says 2303. May 6, 2303. Oh, I'm sorry, SD 2306. Play that tape again. What did I say? Okay, my apologies. I have
Mr. Chairman, did you get a second to that motion?
No, I don't
Second.
think so. I did now.
All
I
right,
have
very
I have a second. Roll call, please.
Smith,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Song,
Yes.
Montgomery,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
McKinney.
Yes.
Motion is approved. This is tabled until the May the 9th, 2023 Planning Commission. Okay, I'm going to take a breath and make those horses slow down a little bit. Next item on the agenda is significant development, SD 2308. Megan, you're up again.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a significant development permit request to construct a 30,321 square foot warehouse building on 5.31 acres. This project is located at the 2000 block of Brashears Road. It should be noted that there is also a 29% parking reduction request included with this project. Information on that parking reduction request has been included in the staff report for this project. Additionally, there is an associated lot consolidation plat for this project, which was included in the staff approved projects report at the March Planning Commission meeting. The easements for that lot consolidation were accepted at the Board of Directors meeting on April 4th. On the screen is the site plan for the proposed warehouse building. Shown here is the zoning line. Draw that for you. The The lot furthest to the west is Zone C2. Therefore, any future expansion of the development onto the western lot will require a rezoning request. As you can see, this project is proposing to construct a drive along Brashears Road. This drive will include a crosswalk for better pedestrian mobility and does meet the minimum driveway standards. Additionally, they are proposing to construct a sidewalk along both Brashears and North Country Club Road. The sidewalk will tie into the development using a ramp system with a connection shown here to the east of the proposed drive. I'll mark that for you. Again, the applicant is requesting a 29% parking reduction with this proposal. The applicant has verified the number of future employees as well as the occupancy load of the conference room to justify the reduced parking requirements. Staff is in support of the proposed parking reduction as it will reduce the total amount of impervious area on the site provided that the proposed land use does not change. As shown here to the west of the proposed drive is the dumpster location. As a condition of approval, the city sanitation department must approve the final dumpster location and sizing prior to building permit issuance. The proposed detention pond for the development is shown here to the west. As a condition of approval, an updated drainage analysis for the drainage improvements shall be approved by the city engineer prior to building permit issuance, and the applicant will be required to file drainage and utility easements via separate instrument prior to certificate of occupancy issuance. Shown here to the northeast is a turnaround to allow for fire apparatus connection. Hold on. Get to that. Staff has come across an issue with this turnaround as it is cutting into the 30-foot landscape buffer there. Therefore, this will need to be revised to be a alternate 120-foot turnaround. Hold on a second, I'm trying to get to that portion. Based on the new condition as of this afternoon, this turnaround will need to be reworked to be an alternative 120-foot hammerhead design in order to allow for the required 30-foot landscape buffer and still maintain appropriate fire apparatus access. The fire marshal spoke with the project engineer, and based upon the building being fully sprinkled, this alternative meets fire code. Staff has received a preliminary revision of this new hammerhead design and has been approved. This revision will be presented to the board on May 2nd. And this is the landscape plan for the proposed development. They are showing trees along all sides of the site as well as interior parking lot landscaping. Again, as previously mentioned, this turnaround shown here will need to be revised in order to allow for the 30-foot landscape buffer. And these are the elevations for the proposed development. And this is the zoning map of the property so that you can see the zoning line more clearly. Again, any future expansion onto the C2 lot will require a rezoning request. And this is the overall site view of the property. Staff is recommending approval of this request with 6 needed conditions. The first condition is pertaining to the need to file drainage and utility easements via separate instrument as directed by the city engineer prior to certificate of occupancy issuance. The second is regarding the need for an updated drainage analysis for the drainage improvements. This shall be approved by the city engineer prior to building permit issuance. Third, the applicants must provide a photometric plan that complies with all exterior parking lot lighting standards prior to building permit issuance. Fourth, the dumpster sizing and location details must be approved by the city sanitation division prior to building permit issuance. Finally, staff is requesting to add 2 additional conditions that were not included in the staff report for this project. The first being a condition regarding the need to file the associated lot consolidation plat prior to building permit issuance. This condition will be included in the board memo for this project. The second being the applicant shall maintain the 30-foot landscape buffer along the northern side of the property and maintain proper fire apparatus access to the building as shown on the building plan set prior to building permit issuance. Staff is available for any questions that you may have. Whew. That was a lot, guys.
Okay. Thank you, Megan. Is there anyone from the audience that would like to address the ST 2308? Come to the microphone, state your name and address.
Ron Holmeyer, Civil Engineering, 701 South Mount Olive. I just want to let you know that I'm here to address any questions y'all might have, but I think we've worked out all the kinks through the staff, so looking forward to this approval. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else who would like to address this development? Please come to the microphone, state your name and address.
Yes, sir. Jeff Farmer. I live at 21923 Davidson Road here in Siloam. I live just about a mile or so from this project right here. I'm I remember seeing a sign saying something about a vet agri warehouse, but I'm just wondering if it's, what kind of stuff is going to be housed there. Is it going to be animals going to be housed there? Is it going to be boxes of things that may not be very nice to have around the house or whatever? I mean, that's my question. I didn't see that in any of the literature or anything. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone else like to address that? Ron, can you come up and answer the gentleman's question, please?
Yeah, Ron Homeyer again. No animals. It'll just be veterinary pharmaceuticals that will be housed and, shipped out of there is the purpose.
Finished product.
Finished product, yes, sir. Packaged finished products. No manufacturing, just warehousing.
Right.
Anything else?
Not right now. We'll see what the commissioners have to say.
Thank you.
You may not get off the hook that easy. Is there anyone else from the audience who would like to address this issue? Hearing none. Commissioners, your questions, please. Concerns.
Mr. Chairman, I never like decreasing parking spaces, but I understand the reason here. Is it set up if this were to exchange hands in the future where more parking is easily added?
Ron, you want to address that?
Way.
I doubt they want to jump in on that one, but yeah, the parking spaces there on the east side, there's no, I mean, it can just be continued all the way to the north line if need, well, almost to the north line. I have to stop 30 feet short, but we could double the parking spaces if needed without any real issues.
How many parking spaces have we decreased it? I know you said 29%, but how many spaces was
11 spaces less.
11.
Any other questions for Ron while he's up there?
Thank you.
Any other questions from commissioners concerning this SD 2308?
I would comment, I appreciate the common sense approach and Ron, your explanation of the rationale behind it. So it's nice to see city and private industry working together in that regard.
Okay, with those statements in mind, I will entertain a motion on SD 2308.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve SD 2308 significant development permit with required conditions, including the requested parking reduction.
I have a motion to approve SD 2308 with a recommended 6 conditions, with your recommended 6 conditions. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Williams,
Yes.
Song,
Yes.
Montgomery,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes, motion is approved. This will go to the Board of Directors on May the 2nd, 2023. Next item on the agenda is a rezone development permit, RZ 2301, on the 2000 block of East Tahlequah. And that belongs to Mr. Ben.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commission. I'm positioned here. So yes, you're considering a rezoning application 2000 block of Tahlequah Street. This is rezoning a 3.03 acre piece from A1 to agriculture to planned development. On the legal description, that's actually 4.39, but when you discount the adjacent right-of-ways, that cuts down the size of the lot to about just a hair over 3 acres. So here is a survey of the property that was provided and a proposed site plan. So as you know, we have planned developments. they're providing you a concept plan. Now, this is not going to be the exact plan, but this is a concept plan of what they're proposing with this PD plan development. So what we're looking at is residential townhome style units. There are 4 per building that will front all on Tahlequah Street with the parking behind. So the best way to imagine that is maybe if you go down to in a city setting and you have like a tree-lined street with the individual townhomes that are lined up right to that. There won't be any driveways or anything along the Tahlequah side. All access will be behind as if it was coming in from an alleyway. Sort of similar to Harbor Meadows, if you guys have been through there, that kind of look. What they're also proposing is a small-scale commercial structure that will be on the far eastern side, which would be potentially like a laundromat or some type of small support business that would be work for the residents in this community. Here you see the planning areas. This was detailed in the PUD document, essentially dividing the property into 2 different parts, planning area A being the residential side, and then the B for the commercial. And here you see in more in particular text, I don't expect you guys all read that because it's a lot of text for a slide, but it was included in the PUD document in your staff report memo as attachment. But essentially, just to summarize, the planning area A, as I mentioned, would be the townhome complex located on the west side of the property with driveways coming from the back. And then planning area B would be the retail office tenant, which will be some services for the townhome tenants, as I had spoken of just earlier. So as you know, with PD, you have the opportunity to have somewhat of a sandbox, if you will, for your zoning. All the other zone districts, you're locked in with your standards, setbacks and height and all that type of stuff. Well, in this case, because they have a planned development, they're requesting amendments to the actual PD standard. In this case, it would be the rear setback. Normally that is at 25 foot. They're requesting at 15 foot. If you look at what's to the rear of this property, it is a wetlands, is non-buildable area. There literally is a creek that runs through that. It's the southern end of the Sacred Creek Soccer Complex. So there won't be anyone living right behind that, seeing the backs of these townhomes. It's just going to be left as a complete natural area there. So I don't think there'll be really any impact reducing that setback a little bit further north. With all zonings, we of course will always show you the future land use map. This is the new map, and we have the mixed use centers, which is exactly what this would be appropriate for, is mixed use, which we have residential and commercial on that same property. Here is a rendering of what the units will look like. This is not going to be exact. There'll be, obviously some modifications to that, but this will be what they will look like from the interior of the development. So this is not from Tahlequah Street because this side has the garages, but from the interior side of the development looking to the south, this is kind of what they will look like. But it gives you kind of an idea of what they're going for in terms of the architectural style and that type of thing. And finally, here is the property as looking to the north. As you know, at this point, you are approving the rezoning concept. The applicant will need to come back before you at a later date for the review of the particulars of the development through the significant development project. I do want to point out that after the packet went out, the staff did discover an error in the legal description text. This has been corrected and will be reflective in the version that goes to the board of directors and their ordinance as well as their PUD document. Just a few little Scrivener's errors that's been corrected. So nothing big deal in terms of what you guys are voting on today on the concept. So with that, staff is available for any questions on the rezoning, and we do not need any conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben. Is there anyone from the audience who would like to address this rezone development permit? Please state your name and address. Bob Heifel, 340 Primrose. I own the 10 acres straight across. And I have a question. Are these single garages? Is that what I'm seeing on this plot? A single car garage? Or are they double?
We'll have to ask the developer that, but
Okay.
I'm looking at them as single.
If I'm seeing this right, he says 4 units per deal. That'd be 48 units. If you have 2 cars per unit, you've got 90-some cars parked in that little 3 acres lot. You're coming out on the school. You're going to drain out to the school, Sue England Drive. So when school's out, you got 96 people in cars. If you got 1 car garage, you're going to come back to the same problem you have over on where KC Childers, where they built on the street next there. They have to get the police to come and get the people's cars out of the way because they're 1 car garages, and some of them have 4 and 5 cars. So you're overloading the system. It's a floodplain behind it, and I'm not trying to control somebody else's building because I'm right across the street. Sooner or later, I'm going to be here with the same problem. But at the same time, you think of how many cars you're going to put in this place. If you got a 1 car garage, do you know anybody that has 1 car garage anymore? It's an obsolete factor. You need to really think through this and then think about the school. When school's out, how many kids you got coming out there, how many buses you got coming out in the morning, in the evening. It's a problem. It's a problem over there on KC's development, and it's just a nightmare. That's all I got.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that'd like to address this rezoning issue? Excuse me. Commissioners?
Ben, correct me if I'm wrong, but I just want to kind of speak to that for a second. This is just the rezoning of the lot, right? There is nothing planned yet. That was just a concept drawing. Potentially, they could be 2 car garages. The current requirements we have now would require how many spaces for vehicles?
Great question. Just to correct the record too, that according to them, they're saying there's 34 total units for this project. But each unit will have to have 2 independent parking spaces, so it doesn't really matter whether it's a 1 car, 2 car, 3 car garage. We know that garages tend to be used for storage units rather than for parking vehicles. So the parking will be independent of the garage, and there'll be 2 spaces for every unit based off of, how this would lay out. You're right that it's concept, so they might have a guest parking area that's off-site, tucked in the back for overflow parking if they need it. But we will certainly look at that very closely when it comes in for a significant development permit.
And also, these are emptying out onto Tahlequah, not Sue England.
Yes, I believe that's the concept they've shown us is
the plan.
Tahlequah. Yeah.
Thank you, Ben. Are there any other questions on this rezone?
I think my question is for Kevin. Kevin, I know there's a floodplain behind that, right? But does that land, I feel like I've seen that holding water before and that flooded. Does that not flood right there?
It may. They'll have to set their floor elevations based off of that floodplain since it's adjacent to the property. They'll also have to do some wetland determination probably through that area as well with their significant development.
Thank you. Good question. Other questions?
Can I make a statement?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
And this is for Mr. Heifel. Having worked right there at that school forever and been on that road and worked accidents and dealt with that, I totally understand your concerns with the traffic there. And I have concerns with the traffic there as well, but I know we're not, that's not what we're addressing as their plan. We're just rezoning the property, right? Or possibly rezoning the property. But I completely understand where you're coming from, Mr. Eichel. But.
Okay. Any other questions? With no other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve rezoning 2301.
I have a motion to approve rezone development permit RZ 2301. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Song,
Yes.
Montgomery,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Motion is approved to rezone the development at 2000 block of East Tahlequah. This will go to the Board of Directors on May the 2nd. Next item on the agenda is a rezone development permit RZ 2302 on the 2600 block of North Country Club Road. Staff has requested that this be tabled until June the 13th, so therefore I'll entertain a motion to table RZ 2302 until January the 13th Planning Commission meeting. I'm sorry, June 13th, 2023 Planning Commission.
So moved.
I have a motion to table RZ 2302 until June 13th, 2023. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Montgomery,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Song.
Yes.
RZ 2302 is tabled until June the 13th, 2023. Next item on the agenda is a final plat development permit, FPC 2302. Ms. Megan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a final plat correction for Mission Hills Phase 1, located at the 5000 block of North Country Club Road. The request is to revise the previously approved final plat in order to correct a pre-existing fence encroachment to the north of the subdivision. The previous final plat for this development was approved by the Board of Directors at the July 5th, 2022 Board of Directors meeting. On the screen is the previously approved final plat. This is not the entire plat for Phase 1. This is simply just showing you the area of Phase 1 that is being revised. The only change to be made on this final plat is shifting this property line shown here to the south slightly to concede to the existing fence line. And this is the revised portion of that final plat. As you can see, the northern property line is now shifted slightly to the south. And this is the drone image of that fence encroachment, so you can have an idea of what I'm referring to. The red line is indicative of the existing property line that is to be shifted south, so you can see that that fence is encroaching into their property currently. And this is the overall site view. The northwest corner of the site is the only lots to be impacted by this change. Staff is recommending approval of this request with one needed condition. The applicant shall file the plat at the Benton County Circuit Clerk's office and provide one filed copy to the city within 45 days of board acceptance of this plat. And staff is available for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Is there anyone from the audience that would like to address this final plat development FPC 2302? Please come to the microphone, state your name and address.
Clayton Taylor, 21865 Davidson Road. I'm the property owner there. I bought the house at the exact same time that you guys were are actually incorporating this into the city. So I was not involved and didn't know anything about anything that was going on in prior to. And I'm opposed to anything else going on over there, including the building they're doing right now, until they fix the flooding problem that they've caused between 3 homes that are on the corner of Davidson and Country Club. Previously, the owners that are next door to me have lived there 30 years, and previous to me buying the property, actually there's a creek that runs, a dry creek that runs down between our properties, and they've decided to take the entire, not the entire, 75 or 80% of those 30 acres that they're building on, they've put 2 holding ponds to slow the rain down. they're not even slowing it down. 80%, 75 to 80% of that water that goes into the north holding pond flows right down between one neighbor to one side of me, because I'm on the corner, the other neighbor to the other side of us. It's eroding out there. It's already washed out my driveway once. They did come out and fix the driveway. It's starting to erode it out again. The water flows now, instead of what used to be just a little runoff creek for some water, now 30 acres of property that are clear cut, streets, all the infrastructure, the water's flowing down the roads directly into this pond and across our property. I've talked to the city for the last 2 years to no avail. Nobody seems to want to do anything about it. They keep going, well, the board's approved this, they're letting this go, there's no problem here, this was shown as a drainage before. It was a tiny little drainage thing. I mean, dry unless it rained. And my neighbor that's been there 30 years has told us 3 to 5 years, if we got a big enough rain once every 3 or 5 years, you'd have a little bit of a flooding problem there. Now, every single time we get rain, the little bit of rain we got this last week, my property's flooded. Part of my property's flooded. It's rendered a third of my property useless because it is a little low spot. Now it's filled with red silt. I can't, even a week or two after rain, I still can't get a mower in there because it's nothing but muck since it's a low spot. And so I just want to go on record of saying that I opposed anything else going on there until they fix the problems that they've already created. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else in the audience would like to address this property or this final development permit? Okay, commissioners, your turns.
Kevin, can you speak to Mr. Taylor's concerns with the water?
Yes, I can speak to that a little bit. So the drainage was shifted, more drainage was shifted to the north, and so those ponds were oversized to control the peak flow. But they are discharging into kind of the historic area that water has gone between those homes. The drive was washed out on, I believe, more than one occasion, and the city coordinated with the developer to get that fixed. There are some other issues kind of right around that area on Mr. Taylor's property that need to be addressed as well, but not necessarily as part of this development.
No, you need to come back up to the microphone for the audience, for the recording.
Gotcha. Yes, they did fix that driveway at one point, but it's already starting to crack and go away again. So they haven't fixed the problem. They put a Band-Aid on it to cure it over. Well, you know, it's not fixed anything. If the driveway between where they fixed it and the asphalt starts, which is my driveway, and then they put concrete over the whistle or whatever you call the tube that goes underneath.
Please speak in the mic.
They have taken where the two meet, that water's still coming down there, and now it's starting to cut through between the concrete coming up closer to my house. So they didn't fix anything. They did repair washed out driveway. I couldn't even get my cars in there. Could not get in and out at all. We had to park on the road just to get to the house. They did fix, so I could get up there, but it's already starting to do it again. So they didn't fix the problem. All they did was put a Band-Aid on it for the time being.
Understand. Okay, commissioners.
If it appears that there's drainage issues based upon how we have approved something in the engineering that we've approved, I mean, is that on the city or is that on the developer? Kevin?
That would be probably a legal question. It really just depends on the issues that are involved. Their pond does meet all our requirements. And the discharge from that, my understanding from Mr. Taylor is that at one point he had a conversation with the developer, and they had told him that the pond was sized for the 100-year storm and that he wouldn't see any water unless we received that amount of rain, when that's not the case. Unfortunately, that was misleading. So that pond is sized to limit the flow to the water that was running off at that location before the development.
Kevin, so as they build and we put down more concrete and roofs and houses, and that problem's not going to get better, right? Or is that a question you can answer?
So the development process is kind of a weird in between. So what you see in that picture is actually the worst it's ever going to be, because there's no grass established. So even though the homes have not been added, the grass is not established yet either. So that in between where it's just hitting clay dirt and running off directly into the pond is the main impact of the development. So, and they did also wait too long to put that outlet structure in. That wasn't completed until the very end of last year. And so since that point, my understanding is that has improved some, though not to Mr. Taylor's expectations.
So is everything that the developer is going to do as far as drainage goes, has everything been done already? They're not doing anything else that you're aware of?
Yes, nothing else that I'm aware of.
Kevin, is the SWIP program in place and inspected?
Yes, it is.
Do you know where the sediment's coming from?
It's coming from their site. There's a little bit of a gray area between protecting what runs off the edges of your site and actually protecting what runs off within your site. And that's kind of an area that we've had some trouble enforcing. And so with all the runoff within the site going directly to the detention pond, the water reaching that point is at this moment is fairly red. And so and just for your own knowledge, clay takes about 180 days to fall out of stagnant water because it has really fine particles. And so when sites like this are being developed, that's why it's important to get stabilization on it as soon as possible.
Kevin, as the water goes into the detention ponds, does it go through the detention pond, or is it slowed down prior to leaving the detention? I mean, are they actually holding the water back, or is it coming straight off the streets into the detention ponds and right on into the creek?
They're holding the water back with an outlet structure. So they have a box with a narrow 4 or 6 inch opening, and then a larger opening at the top for the major storm events, or if that opening is clogged. So, and then there's a pipe that comes out the back side of this box that all the water flows through under normal conditions.
So do we know if this detention pond over there is detaining like it's supposed to slow down, or is it something happening and it's going straight through?
Based on the rains I've witnessed when I've gone out there, it seems to be functioning as designed.
While we've gotten off to water flowing off of this, the original plat here was to approve a lot line adjustment. Do you have any other questions? And this is a serious concern that the resident has brought up. Commissioner, you have any other questions? Jay, the question was asked about legal. Do we need that question restated for you?
Mr. Chairman, no, I believe I understand what was asked, and all I can give you at this point is my best lawyerly answer is it depends. And what it depends on is that once the project is in place as designed and all the drainage structures are as designed, it's going to be a question: do they work as intended? And if so, then there's no problem. If they're not working as designed, if they don't control the flow as was represented by the developer, we're going to take a close look at that, and we would generally hold the developer's feet to the fire on something like that. Said, well, you said it's going to work this way. We expect it to work that way. If it's doing everything that they said, and there's still an issue, the city might get involved at that point. But again, it's just going to come down to the facts as they play out. It's just really too early to say.
Thank you, Jay. Commissioners, you have any other questions on this issue that's been brought up? Keep in mind that we are here strictly to approve a lot line adjustment on this property, but we need to go ahead and get the issues off your mind here on this.
This is a clarifying question. Kevin, is there anything that you can do to follow up with Mr. Taylor's concern?
Yes, yes. Staff is aware of his concern. We've had several conversations with him, and we'll continue to do so until this is resolved.
I have a question. Mr. Taylor, was there something else you wanted to say?
Actually, just briefly.
Yeah, please.
I'll try to, but things are not being said the same way that they were done before. As far as the containment pond, whatever you're calling it, not putting any more water into this area than was before, that is completely wrong. 100, even since I've been there, 100% wrong. You're taking, and I wish I could get over there to it, but where the red circle is from y'all's deal, straight to the right of it, that's the corner that we're talking about. That's the large pond in that top right-hand corner of the property. What used to be water flowing from rain, a lot of it was soaked into the ground, but it flew from the left of that screen down towards Country Club Road. It wasn't coming down that little creek. Now, that large detainment pond, all the water, most of the water is being forced there because it's twice as big as this other one. It's got 3 36-inch pipes, drainage pipes going into it. That's all the water that was on this 30 acres that wasn't coming down our creek before. Now it's coming out, and instead of going out Country Club and tying into the city real easy, would have been super easy to go straight out to Country Club. So they decided to go between my house and Mr. Farmer's house and our other neighbor's house with 30 acres of water that wasn't going down there before. Used to, that water, part of it would soak into the ground as it was flowing downhill, and it'd go out towards Country Club. Some would meander a little bit towards our little creek, but not much. Now they're putting most of the water on that property down that little creek. That's where the problem is. Is it like it was designed? Probably is. Was it supposed to? I don't know if it's going to work or not. Little rain. The little rain we had this week, my driveway was flooded again. It's too much water to go down between those two without some, if they want to put in a culvert or an underground or something like they should have towards Country Club, that'd be a different story too. But right now, they're ruining my property, they're encroaching on Mr. Farmer's property and our other neighbor that sits on this other corner. So there is way more water going down there than ever was going down there before.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any other questions or comments from the commissioners?
Mr. Taylor, I would suggest coming to the board meeting next week and being heard there as well. I think that would be to your benefit. Is it next week?
May 2nd.
May 2nd.
For no other comments on this approval for the lot line adjustment, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the final plat development permit FPC 23-02.
I have a motion to approve FPC 2302. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Montgomery,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Song.
Before I vote, I wanted to thank again Mr. Taylor. And as mentioned, I recommend that you show up to the next board meeting. So thank you. Yes.
Motion is approved. It will go to the Board of Directors on May the 2nd. Next item on the agenda is board and staff approved permits. You all received copies of them. Are there any questions on board and staff approved permits? With no questions, staff, you are lucky tonight. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.